Alright, in the previous video we selected this motherboard 1151 is the one that has the correct memory and express card, M.2 storage support, and it's a 64-bit system, this one. So that's the motherboard we want to choose. When we click on Details and Specifications, we can see that there are labeled parts to help us figure that out, and we can see the system panel connectors. So if we maximize this view, this would be a good image to screenshot because we're going to be asked to make system panel connections. And it would also be useful to take notes, to write down, like on the top row for system panel connectors comes the power LED, then the power switch, then the speaker, and then the bottom row, there's on the left is HDD LED, reset, and then power LED again. You may wonder, what's the difference between this power LED and this power LED? Well, this power LED is 2 pins side by side, and this power LED is like a 3-1. There's a space between these two, a 3-1. So I would encourage you to screenshot this image for your reference and also take notes on the order of these connections, because there's a lot to connect here, and I find like working a jigsaw puzzle, it's easiest for me to start at the corners and work my way in on these because there's a lot of connections there. So we'll close that. Let's see, in this lab our task is to install the motherboard. Alright, so let's go to the motherboard view of the computer, and we'll drag in the motherboard we have selected as fulfilling the requirements. Alright, so let's start with all of those system panel connections. We can bring those up by clicking on the case, right? Okay, and we can zoom in a bit to this lower corner, right? Because that's where these lovely connections will be made, right? Alright, so if we work this a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, then let's see, the HDD LED is in this lower left, so that's a pretty easy one to connect. We can see that like right now this is unconnected, so on. We're starting with all of these unconnected. Here's our HDD LED, and we said that goes in the lower left corner, so drag that there. And let's see, the speaker is in the upper right corner, right? And we can look at like what the pins look like. There's 4 pins, right? We can drag that to the upper right to connect the speaker. So now we've got the upper right. Let's see, how about, and we can see now that like this has changed to connected, right? The status is no longer unconnected. So there's some fans and some other things. Let's go back because we have the power to connect, right? So we have power LED. So which one do we have? We can look at the motherboard specifications, and we can also just click on details and look, and we can see that it's the 3 pin, right? So the 2 pins was in the upper right corner, and the 3 and 1 was in the lower right corner. So we'll drag this one below the speaker so that when we can see this rectangle has 1 pin on the left, 1 pin on the right, and the center pin has nothing in it. So there's that. And the power switch is like between the 2-pin power and the speaker in the top row. So we'll like, and we see that right now the power switch is connected. We'll drag it to the top row between the speaker and the 2-pin power, and that is connected. So everything should have changed from a status of unconnected to connected. So let's check. Okay, so that's for that area. Now we have the fan. So here's a fan, and if we zoom back a bit, There's another fan. So I'm going to say that's the front, that's the rear. Oop, I need to like drag better. Okay. And this connector is for the motherboard. It's not connected now. Let's look at its pins. You can see that this has like 9 pins right there, and one is blanked out. We can refer back to the motherboard image for that. If we want, by clicking on the motherboard and then going to details and then the specifications. Let's see, where is that USB? Look at maybe, 4, 9, 11, and see that the USB is 9, which is there, and 4 is for the CPU, and 14 is USB 2.0 connections, which are 10 minus 1. Aha! Okay, so let's try that. We'll close that out. We'll click on the case at the side here. Oops, that's not what I intended to do. I'll shrink that up a little bit. Go back. That is not what I wanted to do. There we go. Alright, clicked on the case to bring back what I wanted to see. Alright, so here is our USB. We'll scroll down, and we can't break anything. So there we go, connected that. Now audio looks like that. So 10 pins again, but this one is blacked out. If we scroll that way, is that it? Again, we can't break anything if we guess wrong, but that one is okay. This one is the USB 3.0. If we look at that, that has 20 pins. Looks like that has 20 pins, so we'll connect that. Alright, and looks like we've changed the status of everything from unconnected to connected. We could go back and double check by looking at those tests. So those were the front panel and connectors and so on. We also have some connections from the power supply. So I've clicked on the power supply, and it says from the power supply we want to connect the CPU power. So let's go. There's our CPU. If we look at our details, can we find our CPU power? Number 2, let's look at number 2. Number 2 is power connections. Okay, so let's click on power supply again, and that's a 4-pin. This has 8 pins, so I'm going to mouse over to this connector, which is an 8-pin. I'll drag it there to connect the CPU power, and here is the 24-pin main power. So let's go to the right, and there we see the 24 pins. That becomes pretty easy as you get familiar with it. Alright, did we connect everything? Let's find out. Let's click on Score the Lab and see how we did. Alright, we did get everything, so that's pretty cool. I hope this video was helpful, and thank you for watching.